of April 15th, 2025 at 10 a.m. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind committee members and members of the public in attendance that all committee and council meetings are recorded. Please note that these recordings may capture comments made during meetings or in breaks or recesses. Recordings will be available to the public on the municipal YouTube channel for members to view. The public may also attend the open session of this meeting in person in the municipal council chambers. Please mute all electronic devices during this meeting. Thank you. And now, if I could ask everyone to rise for the national anthem. Be seated. Now I'll read the First Nations land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. So I have a recommendation to adopt the agenda. Recommendation is that the regular council meeting agenda for April 15th, 2025 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover? Councillor Micah, second by Councillor Blank. Any discussion on the agenda?
None.
Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None. None here.
Seeing none, I do not have a mayor's address today. We do have a delegation, and I'd like to welcome Jenny Buklinski to talk about diversion, inclusion, and equality demographic survey. So Jenny, please come on up to the table, and if you could push the button so the red, perfect.
There. I apologize for my voice. It's still coming back online. And I think I just want to acknowledge that it was diversity, not diversion at the beginning of that. That's okay. I'm here for diversity, not diversion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Mayor Wilmer, Councillor Micah, Councillor Blank, and Councillor Shoelist, thank you for giving me this time to present my delegation to you today. I want to start by referencing the Wellbeing and Safety Plan for Madawaska Valley Township and 3 other municipalities from 2022. I was grateful to find this, and I was surprised at the small data pool taken through the survey for the conclusions. 305 residents from all townships combined completed the survey. There was further information gathered through interviews, discussions with residents, and some professional and committee meetings. 3 primary concerns were identified for the region, including employment, healthcare, and housing. And I do believe that the data gives a good and comprehensive overview on the needs of our community regarding these 3 sectors. My intention today is to highlight other areas of concern for our township and to ask our mayor and council to create a thorough demographic survey that would shed some light from a data-driven perspective on who we are as a community. I am asking for this so that this council, as well as future councils, will have a renewed understanding of the community they represent, with better data that will counter what has looked like a vocal minority that has taken up a lot of space in recent years. This has been inflated and supported by organizations and publications that promote a limited perspective and narrow interest group views. As these voices were emboldened and some disinformation grows, it has eroded a sense of safety and the sense of belonging we know is necessary for a thriving community. As we know, there were delegations, petitions, and commentary here that spoke against diversity, against fair access to infrastructure for all groups and individuals. At other times, the work and due process to build a structure for community was controversial. There were accusations and dangerous innuendos and vocal, unfair demands. As municipal jurisdiction continues to clarify, we know that communities and individuals need fair access and due process by virtue of existing as members within our township, in the same way that all other organizations and institutions exist here. Since the safety and well-being report mentioned above, there has been much that impacts the well-being and safety of our whole community. There has also been a rise of problematic and polarizing rhetoric that we've heard echoed in many public settings. This is concerning to see, and for so many of us, fears that this could sway public policy away from being a fair policy for all, due process, and an impartial approach in municipal proceedings. For many, the impact and the effect of the disinformation and narrow interest noise has left some questions as to what matters on a municipal level. Does the vocal things that have made for some bad press, are they a reflection of what Madawaska Valley Township and this council abide by? While free speech cannot and should not be limited, many of us hear the themes and ideologies that were being superimposed and pressed through as though these were the universal values of this community. And I think we can all agree it is just not the reality. There is and will continue to be recourse and tools available on the municipal level to increase access to information, mitigate any sort of supremacy, and provide self-advocacy for communities and individuals. Like this opportunity I have right here with this delegation. All of this in order to support and give voice to those who are marginalized, experience violence, racism, discrimination, and are underrepresented. So instead of trying to drown out the large noise of a small few, we need data that reflects a reality that makes the innuendos, disinformation, and supremacy irrelevant. We want it to be data clear that we are diverse, inclusive, accessible, and all have fair access to all municipal resources. To this end, I am requesting a demographic survey to be delivered during the summer when our tax-paying part-time residents can also participate in an accessible, well-advertised, and totally anonymous manner. Asking us what makes us feel belonging and experience well-being, what makes us feel unsafe, and ask us if there is anything that impedes the freedoms of existence and expression in Madawaska Valley Township, so that we can be heard, share our experience, and be universally represented. All of this so we can be celebrated in our diversity and inclusion, accessibility and excellence, celebrated during Pride and Holy Week and Easter, with our traditional music, our ethnic foods, new festivals, centering Black joy, highlighting Indigenous wisdom, attending processions and parades, and really celebrating when the dragonflies arrive and start to eat the black flies. We need to see some new data to understand and listen to the new and historic voices, and to kindle again in us a renewed commitment to what I believe our community represents. Because what we are is a tapestry of persons. We are Indigenous and Métis, Inuit, Black, Asian, Pacific, Hispanic, Irish, Polish, German, East Indian, Jamaican, Ukrainian, Palestinian, Iranian, Muslim, American, Catholic, Jewish, Hindu, Christian, non-religious, queer, trans, bi, two-spirit, men, women, and non-binary. And all of us have a right to be heard and to exist and to be safe in this healthy, inclusive, culturally rich, and naturally beautiful, a township where we can all belong. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Denny. I'll ask, is there any member of council that has any questions for Jenny at this point? Okay, Councillor Shoeless.
I don't have a question on that, but I want to thank you for coming out and making us aware of all this here. So thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much. Thanks for giving me this time. I very much appreciate it.
Yep. Again, thank you, and thank you for bringing everyone out too. So, all right. Okay, we will move on to the confirmation of minutes. Council in committee meeting minutes, April 1st, 2025. Recommendation is that council and committee meeting minutes for April 1st, 2025 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover? Councillor Shoeless, seconded by Councillor Blank. Any comments, questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. We have no business arising from the minutes. Municipal reports, there are none. Standing committees, none. So we will move into the consent agenda. We do have a consent agenda with a recommendation from staff to support the following resolution. It's a long resolution. I can start reading it, and if I get tired, I'll turn it over to the CAO to finish. This is on tariff resolution from the County of Renfrew on March 13th, 2025. Recommendation, whereas Canada recognizes and is committed to trade as essential and integral in increasing prosperity, both domestically and internationally, and whereas foundational to this commitment is an inviolable respect for negotiated trade agreements and World Trade Organization rules based on fundamental principles that form the foundations of the multilateral trading system. And whereas the tariffs proposed by the U.S. administration are predicated on lax Canadian border security regarding the inflow of fentanyl and illegal immigration, and whereas these bases are without merit and are simply a capricious pretext to provide a facade of legality to the act of economic aggression, and whereas the U.S. President has acknowledged the tariffs are instead entirely predicated on a trade imbalance that he perceives in a grossly misinformed position to be predatory, and whereas trade between Ontario and the U.S. is vital to the economic prosperity of Renfrew County, and more specifically the Township of Madawaska and its businesses, industries, and workforce, and whereas the proposed tariffs on Canadian goods exported to the U.S. could negatively impact local businesses, industries, and municipalities, increasing costs and reducing economic opportunities, and whereas according to data from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, across Ontario, municipalities are expected to spend between 250 and 290 billion on infrastructure in the next 10 years, and whereas municipalities spend over 22 billion annually procuring goods and services and are willing and eager to use significant buying power to support the federal and provincial governments in protecting Ontario and Canada's economic well-being, and whereas municipalities play a key role in local economic development and procurement and should have the ability to support local businesses while ensuring value for taxpayers, and whereas Ontario municipalities have traditionally treated trade partners equally and fairly in all procurements in accordance with our established international trade treaties, and whereas Canada's Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier have outlined several plans to combat the impact that the proposed tariffs would have on Ontario, which focus on strengthening trade between Ontario and the U.S. while bringing jobs back home for workers on both sides of the border. And whereas the Canadian government has also outlined several ways to address the current relationship with the U.S., including establishing the Council on Canada-U.S. relations to support the federal government as it negotiates with the U.S. on tariffs. And whereas trade between Ontario and the U.S. is very important to our residents and local economies and requires all level of government to work together in the best interests of those residents, and whereas many Ontario municipalities are passing resolutions calling for a united cross-Canada approach to supporting by Canadian initiatives and collaboration to remove barriers and that prevent municipalities from prohibiting U.S. suppliers during procurement, and whereas the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus has passed resolutions supporting the efforts of the Canadian and Ontario governments in their negotiation with the U.S. to address the imposition of arbitrary, pernicious, and unlawful tariffs. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley supports the County of Renfrew's resolution urging the Canadian and Ontario governments to take all necessary measures to protect Ontario's interests in trade negotiations and to ensure municipalities are included in a coordinated response and that the Council of the Township of Madawaska Valley supports efforts to remove barriers and limit municipalities' ability to reject U.S. suppliers in procurement while ensuring fair and transparent trade practice, and that the Township of Madawaska Valley continues to support local businesses, industries, and workforce, and the Township of Madawaska Valley supports the Canadian economy through the procurement processes of goods and services, and finally that this resolution be forwarded to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, and the County of Renfrew. Could I get a mover on that? Councillor Schulis, second by Councillor Micah. Any discussion? Seeing none, it did clear the room though. All in favor? Okay, so that's carried. We will move into we'll move into consent agendas for information items, and so the recommendation that the items listed under the correspondence information sections 12.4 to 12.11 be approved by consent and received by the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley to be filed as information. Does any member of council want one of those pulled or to be discussed? Councillor Schulis.
Yeah, if you could, through you, Mr. Mayor, 12.8, just for the discussion, so on. Thank you.
Okay, so we will, any others? Councillor Blank.
Yes, item 12.7 and as well 12.8.
Okay. So we will have items 12.4 to 12.6, and then items 12.9 to 12.11. Can we get approval on those first?
Yes. I'll move.
Yep. Moved by Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Schulis. All in favor? Okay, so now we'll go back to item 12.7. And David, you brought that up, and Mary, you can also speak.
12.7
Oh, it's
is me.
12.7 is Mary's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you to the chair. This is regarding the Renfrew County District for Food Affordability Report. I think there's 3 years included in the information we have. And last year, I think we took a good look at what was happening within Renfrew County and then across the province as well. Unfortunately, things have not changed. Things are getting more costly regarding anything, whether it's groceries, rent. When we look at what's just happened recently with the gas prices going down, I remember for many years, and many of council members probably remember saying, well, the reason we pay so much is because of gas to get the stuff here. Well, the gas prices have decreased, but I firmly believe that we're not going to see any kind of decrease in anything that's happening within the municipality. The other thing is our workforce. I think we are trying to support a better workforce, but unfortunately, the cost of living here is tremendously rising. For every time you see an ad on Facebook or in the paper saying apartment for rent or house for rent, the costs are extremely high. So I think as a council, we need to remind people in the community that in order for our community to grow, all parts of it have to be looked after. The most alarming thing I found from this year to the year before was item number 1. 1 in 4 households are experiencing food insecurity in Renfrew County. Last year, it was 1 in 6. So it's 1 in 4 now. And the other one, which is even more horrendous, 1 in 3 children live in a food insecure household in Ontario. 1 in 3. Last year, it was 1 in 4. And when you look at how much money is left over from those that receive help and assistance, there is nothing much left over. And actually, they are in deficit. So I think it's important for us to recognize that as the role of council, we are aware of what's happening, and we know our community is suffering in some ways, and we know that the community is supported by many people. And I just wanted to focus on that, to say that we acknowledge that and hope that the future will be a lot better. And if there's anything that the provincial and federal and our local governments or the county government can do to assist, rather than getting worse, I hope it will improve so that next year's report will show better. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Blank. Appreciate that, and I thank the Renfrew County and District Health Unit for putting all those reports together. My only comment is I think we're reaching times of instability, and I think it's going to be very difficult over the next year, 2 years, who knows how long, but it's certainly not going to be an easy time for anyone. There's so much we're not sure of. Our interest rate's going to rise. Is unemployment going to rise? All sorts of things could happen. So I think it's important that council stays on top of it, and that's why it's good to bring something like this forward. So I do appreciate that. All right. So any other comments on this? So we do need to move her on it. Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Schulis. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, 12.8, and David, you spoke first on this, so I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, we do have to discuss on this matter here through you, Mr. Mayor. That's quite an ask, and of course they're being proactive here. I'm talking about the library, but I think something like this here we need to bring to the budget this deliberation or something if we're going to make any kind of move and stuff. And I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but they have asked, and I think we have to act at some point. Anyway, I'd like to hear from other councillors. Thank you.
All right, I'll go to Councillor Blank next as our library board member.
Thank you to the chair. Yes, I was at the meeting where they were discussing the piece of property. For a number of years now, they have been looking at some type of movement within the library itself, whether to enhance it, add on, build a new place in coordination with many other things. But at this point in time, it is very not a very in-depth report of anything. It's still circulating, and there's some plans coming up in May to meet with consultants to discuss our plans and our motivations when it comes to the library. When they asked at the meeting, there was the board chair asked, should we get this letter too? And I said, yes. I said, if you feel that you would like to put that letter to council, you may go ahead. However, I don't think it is something that would be approved, because my feeling is on the site of the property, on where it is, and the cost of it, it is not within our budget at this point in time, and I can't see it being in the budget. I also said that it is a prime piece of commercial property. I would rather see a local or another owner come ahead and open up and perhaps do something more that is commercial related so that our municipality can grow through the development. And they agreed with that as well. But I said, go ahead and put the letter forward. As far as doing anything with the planning of this on the next budget, I'm going to say a definite no. But thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Schulis.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Blank. Speaking of properties, instead of buying property, I think we maybe have a property that could be suitable for a library, which is right next door. I mean, we don't have to purchase anything. But again, that's up for discussion. I'm just bringing it to the table. Not saying that's what we're going to do, but yeah, I think that is a huge ask. When I'm looking at a piece of property being valued at that price there, I mean, that's the reality today. It's what it costs. But again, it's a big ask for ratepayers to tax for this kind of money. So, anyway, we can have more discussion later on if we want to. If not, I'm fine. Thank you.
Councillor Blank.
Thank you. Also, just to follow up on that, I've been attending all the meetings and working with the group of the library board members and that, and we're far away from any kind of discussion, whether it's in joint working cooperation with the township on a new site here local beside us, or because there is enough property in the back of the library where it is now that a lot of good fill could go in there and we could add on there without having to wait a number of years for the municipality to decide what in future they decide to do with that property there or this present building. So I think it is something that we will work with at the library and present council with things, but I felt it was important for them to get in the get in the meeting minutes, to express that they are looking for something, and hopefully the community will help us out in the long run. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Micah.
Okay, well, I think a message also needs to be given of the financial realities that we're facing here as a municipality. And I mean, clearly, the item before we just talked about, 1 in 4 households with food insecurity, 1 in 3 children, food insecurity, that's our community as well. Besides people that rent, those are people that are paying taxes here. They're maxed. Okay, so what is prudent of this municipality is that we're not cranking up the tax bill even more so that people can't afford to pay their taxes. Our reserve levels here are not sufficient for our own operations. We're seeing that. The last meeting, all of these tenders that come in, we're struggling with our own reserves. We have $5 million in the bank. We had $5 million in the bank 20 years ago. We have $150 million worth of infrastructure that we must maintain. We don't have $1 million, $500,000, $250,000 kicking around to have a dream of building a brand new, big, huge library. If the library, they're going to have to find, if there's expansion plans or new builds, I think we need to have a very realistic They need to have a very realistic understanding of what the financial resources are here as to what that's going to look like. So whether that be through their own fundraising, sponsors, benefactors, wealthy benefactors, this township doesn't have the money for those types of projects. We simply don't. I mean, there's no arguing the math. The math is math. And the pressures on costs rising to keep everything functioning are going up, up, up. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that. I mean, we're struggling if we have to buy a new snowplow. Though that used to be $150,000 when we had $5 million in the bank, and that's now getting close to $400,000 when we still have $5 million in the bank. So, I mean, you know, the enthusiasm and the support is wonderful, but there are certain financial realities that need to be, you know, so that people's expectations are in line with what's doable, basically.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Micah. And I think we're all in agreement on this one. I would just like to add that I think this ask is very premature. You know, I think the library really has to start developing plans, developing how they're going to finance it, and these things before they come asking. I, like Councillor Blank, agree. We don't need that lot sitting vacant in our downtown on the main street forever. And with no plan or construction schedule or anything in the works, it could sit there for years and years and years and just be a hole in our main street. So yeah. So anyway, I think we're all in agreement on this. So I'm going to ask the CAO, do we need to put them? We should just approve this?
Well, I think
We're just accepting it as.
yeah, through the chair, accepting it as correspondence, but you have a council rep that sits on the committee, and I think that council position and discussion here can be forwarded through council.
Okay, so this one was pulled, so I'm just looking for a motion to accept this letter, this item. Councillor Blank.
But before I do that,
Okay, Councillor Blank.
just that I acknowledge the comments by fellow councillors and mayor regarding the library, and they are very much aware of what the costs are and what's happening within the municipality, and they're trying to work within their bounds. I tell them quite frequently of what the community is working towards and what council has and in reserves, and that we don't have the money for things like this, that they have to work on their own to do it. However, I want council to understand too that they cannot fundraise. They cannot hold lotteries. They cannot do those things. So they're restricted to people to donate towards them through some means. They do not have a foundation to work through, and so it's going to be a long process. But they do understand it, and I think there's more meaningful discussion coming at that level. And we do have a meeting with Holly Hayes, and her job description is she's a consultant.
Oh, that would be Trestle Consulting.
Yes, regarding what the library is looking for. This is a one big step because right now the committee of the library is split as to what's happening, what's going on. So this is one positive move towards that. But yes, I will move that.
Okay. Councillor Micah.
Besides a, addition or a new build or this or that, I think we also have to be looking at, besides just the price tag of a capital cost, there's the price tag of the operating costs. So bigger building, longer hours, this is all operating costs. And at this point, this municipality is writing some pretty big six-figure number checks. And again, the capacity to widen that operating grant every year is not there. It's not there. And I mean, this is also part of the conversation because, you can build it, but it costs money to run it. And that has to be taken into account as well. And I hate saying this, but I mean, financial realities are financial realities. And that...
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think sometimes, so one of the things with the new design is you could potentially have cost savings in it if you go to one floor instead of two floors and look at these, but we don't even have a design at this point. And I think, Councillor Blank is correct in saying that they can't do fundraising, but they could form friends of the library to do fundraising for them or something like that. I know there's a lot of work involved, but this project, if you want to make it a reality, is going to require a lot of work and take time.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, though, they don't even know what they want, so that's what we're working on.
No, and I understand that. Councillor Shoeless.
Yeah, I'm going to move the motion now, but I want to add something here. I think the intent of this letter probably was to have a discussion of council here, and I've heard a lot of discussion here, and I think that the chair needs to also know that, we were put in a position, to spend taxpayers' money on something like this here sort of thing. But we had a good, healthy discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I think we've had the discussion, and our library board rep from council certainly knows all about it. So
Right. Perfect.
I do have a mover to accept this item. Could I get a seconder?
I did second that, sir.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. And all in favor? So that's carried. All right, so we now move into bylaws. So we have a number of bylaws. Start with bylaw 2025-38, fence viewers and livestock valuers appointment. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-38 being a bylaw to provide for the appointment of fence viewers and livestock valuers for the corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley and to establish fees to administer the Line Fences Act and the Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Blank, second by Councillor Schulis. Any discussion? None. Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Bylaw 2025-39, temporary road closure, Bay Day, May 17th, 2025. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-39 being a bylaw to close to vehicular traffic on a temporary basis, highways, streets, or portions thereof under the jurisdiction of council for such social, recreation, community, or athletic purposes, or combination of such purposes be read a first, second, and third time. Finally passed this 15th day of April. Again, I need a mover. Councillor Micah, seconded by Councillor Schulis. Any discussion? We do this every year.
We do, just a quick note.
Yep. Councillor Micah.
As soon as the meeting is over and the confirming bylaw is passed, Sue or Brittany, can you get Hillary today to get this off to MTO? Because our timelines are very tight here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Micah. All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw 2025-40, Government Stack GHD Digital Agreement. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-40 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between GovStack and the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Again, I require a mover, Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Schulis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Bylaw 13.4, bylaw 2025-41, Product Care Association of Canada. Agreement, hazardous and special waste. The recommendation is that bylaw 2025-41 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of agreement between Product Care Association of Canada and the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Again, I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Micah, seconded by Councillor Blank. Any questions? Councillor Micah?
Sorry, just one quick one. Is this the same company that we've used? Oh, okay. I thought, I didn't recognize the name.
I think they did change names. I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, that's why, because I'm like, Product Care. Okay, anyway, that's good, because everybody's used to the system.
That's right.
And I was hoping that was, we don't want to change anything. Thank you.
All right, all in favor? And that's carried. Bylaw 2025-42, 2025 municipal tax rate. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-42 being a bylaw to establish the 2025 tax rates for the corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Again, I require a mover. Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Micah. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw 2025-43, amend policy E-01, hours of work, overtime and call back pay. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-43, being a bylaw to adopt and amend policy E01, hours of work, overtime, and callback pay, be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Again, I require a mover, Councillor Shoeless, seconder, Councillor Micah. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Bylaw 2025-44, for safe com agreement. Recommendation is that bylaw 2025-44, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between Forsafe Com and the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Again, I require a mover, Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Shoeless. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. All right, under new business, we have letter from the Madawaska Valley, this should be just district school, not high school anymore, scholarship and bursary annual awards 2025. The recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley does hereby approve of the $2,000 bursary to Madawaska Valley District High School or District School for the 2025 school year, and that it be expensed against donations account 01-5-0100-701-0167. Could I get a mover for this? Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Shoeless. Any discussion on this? All in favor? And that's carried. We do not have any unfinished business. We do have an in-camera session. So the recommendation is that the meeting enter in camera at 10:42. Just a second. To discuss matters pertaining to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 C25 S 239 brackets 2 brackets B. Items are human resources verbal updates on personnel, pay equity, and cornerstone status update. Again, I need a mover. Councillor Shoeless, second by Councillor Micah. All in favor? And that's carried. We are now moving. All right, we're back in open session. I'd like to recommend that the council and the corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley does hereby direct staff to schedule an HR meeting for 4:30 p.m. on May 1st, 2025 with Cornerstone and direct staff on items 1A and 1B. And with that, I need a mover. That's Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Shoeless. All in favor? Is carried. Have a confirming bylaw. Recommendation that bylaw 2025-45 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley, regular council meeting of April 15th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 15th day of April. Again, I need a mover. Councillor Shoeless, seconded by Councillor Micah. All in favor? That's carried. And I have recommendation that the regular council meeting adjourn at 12:05. Again, I need a mover. Councillor Blank, seconded by Councillor Micah. All in favor? Thank you very much. We are adjourned.